Hi there, friends. This is Brent here. I'm a productivity coach, and today I'd like to talk to you about ambition. Specifically, what to do about ambition, what is a healthy way to have and wield ambition, how to know when you have the right amount of it, what to do about it, and what to do if you have too much or too little, how to arrive on center with ambition. It's a very powerful subject because if we're able to resolve our issues regarding ambition, if we're able to have a really healthy relationship with it, and what I would call to have a sense of integrated ambition, it means that you can move forward with your projects and your career and that which is most important to you with full abandon, with full congruence, just straight ahead. You are free to get lost in the work. You're free to explore with abandon, to relish deeply into it, to move into the flow state and to operate from the flow state and to stay in the flow state. This is all what comes from integrated ambition when we have it. And so therefore it's a really worthwhile goal. And so therefore, if we're not in integrated ambition, chances are, excuse me, if we're not in integrated ambition, then chances are we are either oscillating back and forth between over ambition and under ambition, or we're actually just caught in under ambition and we just stay there and we just live there and it's kind of like a web that we're caught in and there's no movement out of it. And so in this video, I want to talk about all these things. I want to talk about how you can see what your relationship is like with ambition, and how to course correct, how to get into integrated ambition, and how to move forward that way. And I think that'd be really valuable because if we can sort this out, it'll also put to rest issues that we may have around shame that we might have regarding ambition. This is a trap that I've fallen into really, really deeply and really profoundly when I was on my spiritual search, when I was like reading like my Eckhart Tolle and Osho and like all these kinds of spiritual speakers and spiritual texts that would talk about, you know, the enoughness of the now moment and how like there's nothing to look for and there's no real goal that's worthwhile seeking, in the ultimate sense, and and all wellness and fulfillment and enlightenment is only available right now, and your drive and your forward looking and getting in, moving into the future is an impediment to wellness that would otherwise be available right now. Like that kind of message really threw me in for a loop. And I think it was like on the fault maybe of the messaging, but it was on the fault of myself, mostly misreading these texts and handling them inappropriately. And so if you're like me, perhaps you've read a little bit of spirituality, or you've dived into spirituality, or you've studied meditation or whatever, and maybe you've learned, or even just in contemporary culture, like you've just learned to have disowned your desire for material success, to succeed in the material realm. In other words, you may have a desire to make money, or to become famous, or to succeed, or to have influence in some way, or to just become like, the top, 1% wealth. And you might have these desires and you might feel bad about them, which is to say it's not exactly that these are the greatest expression of health and wellness, but to have these desires and to be ashamed of them, or to feel like there's something wrong with them, will stunt our growth and not allow us to move properly past on to next higher stages of growth and development. And so that's a big lesson to learn here on the subject of ambition. So that's an overview of what I want to get to. I have a couple notes here that you'll see me referencing. Ambition is it's a troublesome problem. It's a problem that has given me a lot of trouble in my own life. And the reason being is that perhaps like yourself, I've had a drive to move in two distinct directions. One that I call the vertical movement and one that I call the horizontal movement. So the vertical movement, we're talking about moving vertically into success. So climbing the ladder, climbing the hierarchy, getting to the top of the pyramid, or to get to the top of the crab bucket. to succeed in a particular realm of activity and to be noteworthy for it and to feel accomplished as a result, and to be somebody that other people look up to or use as an example of success, to have your name go down in the history books, like, all of this being sort of a way of referring to the desire for vertical success, or the vertical movement. And then there's this other desire, which is horizontal movement. And it's best summarized, it's best summarized by a meme that I once saw on Reddit. It was a tweet. And the tweet said, I don't see all this need or desire for us succeeding in some enormous way. It's enough to just want to go from one thing to the other, to travel through your life exploring cool shit until you die. And so that's the horizontal movement. It's low to the ground in terms of visibility and fame and noteworthiness and accomplishment and the aggrandization of the ego and all that stuff, right? To move horizontally, which is just to move around the earth, would be exemplified by the eternal traveler, the person who just travels to all the different countries, a person, or like, say the traveling hippie, the hitchhiker, the apple picker, the person who is utterly free, a person who would live in a co-op or in a commune, a lot of stage green stuff, if we're coming at it from a spiral dynamics perspective, and also a stage blue perspective in the sense of like knowing your place in life, with relationship to God and so forth. That's like stage blue. As a side note, please take a minute to look into spiral dynamics, because it'll really deepen this conversation, and it's just fascinating material. So that is horizontal movement. And to move in a horizontal way, there is extreme, profound beauty. It's the beauty that spiritual speakers will talk about if they're ever talking about beauty in the mundane, in the ordinary. Whenever you are just like walking from one place to the other and you're just enjoying the sights and the sounds and the trees, if you're ever just like looking at a simple flower in a garden somewhere, and it's so profound. That's my cat on her scratching post. It's so profound to live in the horizontal realm, because there's complete, utter fulfillment to be found when you can find this joy in just looking at a flower, or just spending time with a friend, or just walking around, just living very, very simply. You can live a totally complete existence this way by surrendering to life itself and just wandering and just enjoying life in its simplicity. So there's a really, really compelling case to be made for the horizontal path and also for the vertical path, because the vertical path, you have that sort of serotonin hit. You have this sense of accomplishment and achievement, this sense of having left everything on the court, having tried your best, having surmounted all odds, right? So much of this stage orange kind of energy and stage red as well. The sense of like, just learning and becoming as smart as you can possibly be. And so, as I'm telling you about this, I want you to just have a sense that there's just such ultimate value in both paths and in both ways and both modes of development. And so my problem in my life, I've been going back and forth. In between the two, trying to make up my mind which one to be in. Because when I would be in the vertical path, it would be really exhilarating at first. I'd go through this like a strong kind of momentum of it. But then it would become devoid of juice very quickly. It would become very heavy, very rote, mechanical, barren, effortful, forceful, stressful, and it would really lose its value really quickly. And then eventually the effort would collapse, and I would look at the other side of this coin and go, oh, right. And this is when I'd return to Eckhart Tolle and the power of now. And oh, wait, no, I have to return to this mode. And so then I would plunge back into this other mode of the horizontal movement, the now, which is to, just like to move with the flow of life, move with the universal flow, and to drop ambition, to let ambition and goals just fall by the wayside, and to appreciate the fullness of the now moment. And then that would be really beautiful. But then then I would find that like I'm not really developing in any way. I'm not like learning. My career isn't growing in any particular way. Time is just passing by. And in the meantime, I'm also not serving at the highest level that I'd like to. For example, making videos like this, like I want to serve you and help you. I want to help as many people as I can. And I want to develop my body of work and how I come about all of this. And none of that's happening if all I'm doing is just surrendering to the now. And I want to say as well, that's not what Eckhart Tolle or any of these people were ever recommending that I would do anyways. That was just my interpretation of it. And so anyway, so I do that and I would become refreshed, but then I become stagnant and kind of like a swamp. There's no movement, there's no fresh life anymore. It's just kind of bliss in the now, and it becomes sort of incomplete. And then I would go back here, and then it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so that's exemplified by these two polarities. And so now, as we speak, my strongest desire for myself and for you, if you find that you're resonating with this and you're going through something similar, which I don't know if you are, I haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but maybe you are, is how to bring them together, how to make this into one thing. Because it's a polarity, it's a duality. And at the end, if we're ever operating from a duality, which is to say, like it's one time, we flip the coin over this way and it has its time in the sun, and then we flip it over and we're doing that one thing, then we're always incomplete and we're always moving in a circular way, and we're never really moving forward, just in circles. So there's got to be a way to dissolve the duality. And so I did some thinking, I did some writing, I did some note taking, and so what I came up with this is this. It's what we're looking for in order to take these two sides, these two poles, and bring them together is integrated ambition. And so when I talk about integrated ambition, what I'm describing is a freedom to move intensely forward while at the same time being unattached to what you're doing, which is really difficult to achieve, because what keeps us locked in ambition, what keeps us locked in the negative expression of ambition, is that there's some sort of fear governing the ambition. Because ambition in its pure form, when it's just pure, it comes off as a spontaneous desire to create and offer and serve and help and participate. And we will never ever lose this part of us. Like, some people are afraid of losing their ambition. You'll never lose this aspect of you. It's dyed in the wool. It's made, we are made out of it, this desire to create. Like, as humans, I don't know who said this, but we're load-bearing creatures, and we benefit from taking responsibility and stepping up. And whether it's creating or teaching or helping or protecting or serving, making, whatever it is, all of that remains part of what we are. But there's this underside to ambition that is governed by fear. And there's a bunch of really sticky fears that operate in the background that cause us to move compulsively and pathologically forward with ambition. And then when these fears govern our ambition, we are moving in a way that's not healthy and is on a course for burnout in some way. And so therefore, in order to have integrated ambition, what we want to do is we want to resolve these fears and put them away. And it takes a lot of courage. At least it did for me. A lot of courage. But if we can, then there's something really special ahead of us for us. We can live from this state. So I have a list here of some fears. They're all basically the same, but kind of different expressions of the same one. And I'm going to speak about them and bring them up. And I'd like for you to see if you have any of this in yourself. And we'll see if we can bring some of it to a close and we can actually move together into integrated ambition. So the first one is the, oh man, okay. I'm just realizing as I wrote this down, this is probably the juiciest one. I should have saved this for last, but there's this idea, this sort of like meme idea that goes around, that there's this fear of dying, and upon the moment of your death, either just leading up to it or at the moment or just slightly beyond death, depending on how you're predisposed to think about death. You would meet with the fullest possible actualized version of yourself. The person you could have been if you had just done your best. Do you resonate with that at all? Have you ever heard of this? It's like, oh my God, I'm so afraid that I'll die. In the moment of my death, I'll realize how good I could have become and I wasted all this time, or I failed, or I never really went for it. And now I have to live with that. And it would just create so much grief and so much shame and so much guilt. I couldn't bear with it. And that's why I keep this ambition. That's why I wake up every day and do my best every single day, da 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 da. And so my invitation for you now is to consider allowing that fear to go. Now this is tricky because maybe as I say this, there's a little bit of a contraction. It's like, no, I don't want to not be afraid of that. You know, I don't want to drop that fear because that fear drives me. Notice how we're convinced on some level that it's our fear that drives us forward. One way of considering the entire message of this video as I'm making this for you is that fear is an inferior driver. That we believe we're under the impression that we require our fear, our insecurity, our lack of trust in ourselves to stay ambitious. But that's false. It proves itself to be false continuously, that this is not our greatest motivator. And that, once again, motivation is what we are. There's extreme motivation to become actualized as people and to manifest our highest selves as people. We're so motivated. In fact, our problem in most cases is that we're so motivated that whenever we fail or fall short or we give up or we screw up or we don't do enough or we mess up in some way, it's just, oh, it feels so bad. It's like, because we so much want to succeed and our intentions are so pure that I can't take it, and then we go on Reddit or we go on our YouTube video or we give up for like a month just because it hurts so much. Isn't that so strange? You don't suffer from a lack of ambition. You don't suffer from a lack of motivation either. You're totally motivated. You're totally ambitious. You're totally fine on that front. If anything, it's too much of it that screws us up. Isn't that crazy? So we have this fear, like, what if I die and I meet this actualized version of myself and, oh my God, this is who I could have become, but I never did. And it's like, that would be hell, right? That would just be hell. It'd be like so terrible. Well, ask yourself, is that fear serving you? Is it serving you? Because if not, can we be done with that right now? Can we be done? Can we put it down forever? Can we put it down for good? And it's, you know, so that like, it's like, fine, I don't care who I meet when I die. It's like, whatever, it's cool. I'm just going to keep living my life. So if so, bring your attention to this fear and just do this, really, really do this. Bring your attention to the fear, encapsulate it, and then resolve, dissolve, and complete it. Just resolve it, dissolve it, complete it. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, release. Just allow it to just disappear. That's a technique I learned from Roxanne Kuchek. From Creating Beyond. So if you want a lot of that, I suggest looking her up, Creating Beyond. Next fear is fear of not fulfilling your potential. So same thing. It's like, that was a huge thing for me. It's like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of not living up to my potential. Is that fear serving you? Yes or no? Is it making your life better? Is it making you do shit? Or is it making you do shit sustainably? Okay, if not, would you be happy to resolve, dissolve, and create it? Uncreate it? Good. Dissolve, resolve, and uncreate it now. Just imagine encapsulating it and just shrink it all down into less than nothing. Next fear is fear of mediocrity. Are you afraid of mediocrity? Is that fear serving you? Because again, it's not to say that you should start becoming mediocre, even if that had any meaning at all. But it's to say the fear of mediocrity itself is stagnating us, is holding us stuck. And so if you agree that it's not creating your life, if it's not helping, if it's not serving you, then let us release it now. So look at the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, release. Just like that, just like that. Next one is, oh, big one, big one. Wastefulness. I'm afraid of wasting my life. I'm afraid of wasting my potential. I'm afraid of wasting time. I'm always wasting time. I hate that I waste time. Just this whole hang up around wastefulness. Can we now destroy and uncreate that? So again, is it serving you? Probably not. Your intentions are pure. You're already doing your best to not be wasteful. You're already doing your best. So can we let go of the fear? So 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, release. Dissolve, resolve, and create it all. And by the way, you'll kind of notice that like I kind of breathe a little bit funny when I do these sort of clearings, and I don't exactly know why, but I can just feel a movement of energy in me. I think maybe I'm clearing it on myself as well. And so there's just sort of a release and a movement into relief on my part too. So that's kind of why you see what you see there. So good. Okay. So there we go. Now all of this, so releasing all of this fear is what we do in order to break up this fear of that governs ambition, so that our ambition can be free of fear, so that it can be free to just create, not from a survival instinct, which is what it's been doing up until now, but just from a really truly higher place, from a productive place. So I'll close with this. My last piece is, that's what you would do if there was too much over here. That's what you do if there's too much ambition. And so now what to do if you don't have enough ambition, or if you feel like you're just stuck and there's no, you kind of feel like your life is wasting away, you feel unfulfilled and you're not really going for it. Well, then try this out. Answer the following questions if this is you. Number 1, what would you do if you were utterly fearless? If you were totally free of fear, what would you do? So, right, if you want to recover your ambition and become fulfilled and move into actualization, then pause the video, write the answers out. Number 2 is, what would you do if you had all the resources that you needed? So you have all the money you need and money's not a concern. How would you spend your time? Maybe you'd spend like the first week like partying or whatever, but then after that, how would you spend your time? What would you do? And number 3 is, well, 1 and 2 are fine. That's enough. So look at those answers, and whatever you get, I would challenge you to take action on that. Like actually do something with that. Take action. All right, the third question is this. This is relevant. It's like, suppose you were about to die. You're at the ripe old age of 108. You're about to die. Looking back on this moment, what will you then wish that you had gone for? What risks would you take? Not stupid ones, but important ones. What risks is it time for you to make? Realizing that we're all just going to die, that this life is short, and that no matter what, all of it gets erased. All of it gets erased out of the records clean. Even especially when an asteroid comes to the planet, hits the planet, or the sun blows up and swallows the planet, everything gets erased. So what would you do if you knew everything was going to be erased and you were totally free? So that's it. So ask yourself those questions if you don't have enough ambition, if you live too much in the horizontal realm, and then release all of these aforementioned fears. If you have too much ambition, you struggle under the ambition, under the weight of it, and it's not fun anymore, and you're just driving yourself into success and it's never enough. And then let's move together in this direction of integrated ambition, where it's like, it's creativity and productivity and a desire to just make beautiful things and do good things, and to develop and become actualized versions of ourselves. That's productivity. Cool. That's it. Please hit like if you indeed liked this video. I'd be grateful. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed, if you're not subscribed already. And you can get a session with me if you'd like some one-on-one coaching. You can get your first one for $5. The link is below. And I have a free online video course that I can send directly to your inbox on sustainable high-level productivity. And the link for that is below to opt into my email list. You'll first get a PDF gift called How to Get Yourself to Do the Thing. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.